Today I will talk about Mars. Mars is a warrior planet of our solar system. Mars is red in color. Mars gets exalted in Capricorn and Mars gets depleted in Cancer. Mars owns two houses in the zodiac system. One is Aries, another is Scorpio. What is the job of a Mars? Mars makes one a police officer. Mars makes one a judge. Mars makes one a very brave person. Mars makes one person an expert in weaponry. Mars, if situated in the first house, if situated in the fourth house, if situated in the seventh house, if situated in the eighth house, and if situated in the 12th house of a horoscope, then that person, whether he or she, whether that person is a male or a female, is Mangalic. That means that person, male or female, will have to marry a person who is also a Mangalic. If Mars is a very important planet in our birth chart. Mars should be strongly blessed. Mars should not be disturbed by Saturn or Rahu. If Mars gets disturbed by Saturn or Rahu, chances of accident, chances of operation, chances of enmity comes in the life of the person. If Mars is alone and is not disturbed by Saturn's aspect or Rahu's aspect, or Mars is not seated with Ketu, Mars alone is capable of vanquishing several problems from your life. Now coming to the houses where Mars will give us benefic results. Mars will give us benefic results in the third house. 1. Mars will give us benefic results in the sixth house. Number 3. Mars will give us benefic results in the 10th house. 4th. Mars will give us benefic results in the 11th house. But we will have to say that Mars should be placed alone in that house. In the opposite house, just opposite of Mars, there should not be the presence of Saturn, Rahu or Ketu. There should not be placed any enemy planets of Mars, or that planet will reduce the benefic effect of Mars from your life. That means, suppose Mars is seated in Aries and Rahu or Ketu is seated in Libra in the opposition of Mars. That planetary position will definitely enhance the negative effect of Mars. Earlier I have told you that Rahu and Ketu can boost up the power of a planet seated in its own house, in the house of exaltation, by a factor of 4. That means Mars is seated in Aries and Rahu or Ketu is seated in its opposite house, Libra. That means one part of the node is seated with Mars in Aries. That whether it is Ketu or Rahu seated in Aries and the another part of the node is seated in Libra, this Rahu or Ketu will boost up the power of Mars by a factor of 4, whether it is a benefic result, whether it is a malefic result. It will be reduced by a factor of 4, it will be enhanced by a factor of 4. That means that Rahu Mangal Angar Yug, and that Rahu can boost up the power of Mars also by giving courage. But when it will give malefic effect in that part of the life of a person, that malefic effect will also be enhanced by a factor of 4. Now, Mars is the planet of army. A pure Mars indicates army. Police department does not come purely under Mars. Rahu and Ketu and Sun with Mars comes under the police department. But Indian army is purely Mars. Mars is the warrior standing in the border. I am standing in the border. I don't know after 4 or 5 hours whether I will be alive or not. I am a Mars. But it only happens with the army. When floods, when storms, when hurricanes, natural calamities attacks in our society, and it is totally goes out of the hand of the police department, it is totally goes out of the hand of the state governments, then state chief minister, chief secretariat requests army to come and save from the clutches of that natural disaster. That means they are welcoming Mars. Please come and save us. We have also seen that in the army, the Jawans is to get trained with cobra. There is the poisonous cobra of 6 feet, 8 feet length, and the Jawans is to get those cobra in their hand and used to get trained how to deal with a cobra. As they were put in the jungles in the time of war, they can face snakes, so they get trained with cobra. That is the courage, that I am touching the tail of a cobra and I am handling it, and it is poisonous, I know that, but still I am handling that cobra with full energy, full courage. That means he is a Mars, a pure Mars. Army is Mars. Police department is a combination of Mars, Rahu, Ketu and Sun. Lawyers are combination of Mars, Saturn, Venus, Sun with Mercury. But commander of the army, general of the army, colonel of the army are purely Mars. Their life is totally in danger. They know that very well, but knowing that, they goes for war without thinking of the situation, what could happen to them, taking full risks. That is called Mars. Mars is the warrior. Whether I will die or my enemy will die, and there is nothing between these two thinking. Only two thinking, that I am in the war, whether I will die, whether my enemy will die. This sort of thinking, this sort of technique, these are being trained by the army officials during their practices. They get trained each and every day how to deal with their enemies, different type of fighting, different type of strategy of war. All this comes under the strategy of Mars. Now, I will say something that Mars color is red. Mars integer is 9. The person who has a strong Mars in his hand, in his birth chart, will acquire landed properties, may acquire degrees, will be courageous. That man will be able to handle Saturn Saraswati very easily, because as Mars is very strong in that person's birth chart, he can be easily he can be easily deal with Saturn Saraswati. Saturn Saraswati is a very tough period for only those persons who don't have a strong Mars. But if a person have a strong Mars, he can easily deal with Saturn Saraswati. Saturn Saraswati is not a tough period for a man who has a very strong Mars in the birth charts. Mars is the blood of our house, is the blood of our body. Mars is the heart. The heart in our body is being designated by Mars. If Mars is strong in your birth chart, then there will be less chance of heart attacks. The person of Mars will be angry in nature. The person of Mars will have a great personality. The person of Mars will be very Cupidian looking. The person of Mars will be very smart. An actor in the Bollywood must have a strong Mars in their birth chart, as it denotes personality. We have seen Rajnikant have an exalted Mars in Capricorn, and we have seen the technique of lighting cigarettes that comes under Mars, partly by Rahu. Rajnikant, the mega star of the South, has a tremendous planetary placement of Mars. And we have seen that he is also expertise in politics. The style of Rajnikant, the style of Bruce Lee in the cinema Enter the Dragon, is a combination of Mars and Rahu, not purely Mars, with combination Rahu. Mars is the technique of war. Mars is the planet of technique of war. Mars is the planet of strategist. We have seen in the earlier period of time that Chanakya was a great strategist. Chanakya was a very great strategist in his time. He is a very crooked man, and he used to give certain types of ideas to his king that the empire should be in totally safe, to make his empire safe from the clutches of enemy lineup. That is the job of Chanakya. He was a kingmaker. The man who has a strong Mars is a kingmaker. Mars, if placed in the 10th house of a birth chart, Mars, if placed in the 6th house of a birth chart, Mars, if placed in the 3rd house of a birth chart, Mars, if placed in the 11th house of a birth chart, but in the Navamsha, he should not be illy placed, or else that power of Mars will get reduced. You will have to also see your Navamsha chart, whether Mars is not badly placed. Mars is well placed in your natal chart, but look again in the Navamsha chart and verify it that whether the Mars is not badly placed, or else the power of the Mars will get reduced. Mars alone has the capacity to overcome Saturn, Rahu and Ketu and even Sun. Whether it gives bad effect, whether it will give benefic effect. Mars does not consider anybody as its enemies. Saturn considers Mars as its enemies, and Mars decided that I will get exalted in Capricorn. In the planet's house, who considered me as enemy, Mars gets exalted in Capricorn, which is Saturn's sign. Saturn considers Mars as its one of the top class enemies. But Mars decided that I will get exalted in Capricorn. Rahu and Ketu is the enemy of Mars. Mars does not consider Rahu and Ketu as its enemies. Mercury is the enemy of Mars. Mars does not consider Mercury as its enemies. Mars is friendly towards Jupiter, Sun, Moon, and it is neutral towards Venus. Mars and Venus conjunction is a combination of great romance. Mars, when placed in the fourth of the birth chart, in the fourth house of the birth chart, in a female's horoscope, if a female is a Mangalik, what will happen? That female will be independent in nature. Maybe her marital life will be not very happy, but she will be economically stable. She will be learned. She will have great courage because she is Mangalik. And Aishwarya Rai Bachchan is Mangalik. And we have seen that before her marriage, she was economically independent. She was very successful in Bollywood. But still she is Mangalik. Before marrying Abhishek Bachchan, she had done certain kinds of rituals and worship to remove her Mangalik. And then she married Abhishek Bachchan after removing her Mangalik by doing certain rituals. We have seen as in television. Mars is the planet of courage. Mars is the planet of dictatorship. Mars is front war. Ketu is conspiracy. If Ketu is the conspiracy, then Mars is the frontline war. Mars is the planet of promoting. Mars is the planet of land. Mars is the planet of construction. Mars denotes civil engineering. The persons who gets civil engineering degree from Jadavpur University and certain reputed universities of our state comes under Mars. Civil engineering comes under Mars. The planet Mars makes the person who is under the control of Mars certainly slight rough in nature, slight angry in nature, with a beautiful personality. Maybe that person is some kind of angry in nature, but that man's personality will attract many. As we have seen Bollywood actor Salman Khan's Mars is placed in 10th. He is very angry man, but still his personality attracts many. Among the Khans, he has the great personality. As we have seen that the man is not very tall. The man is slightly short with well-built structure. That is Mars. The man who comes under Mars will have a very tough body, will like to eat very much, will be very attractive, will love his wife very much, but he will not smile. He will not smile at all because smiling is not a part of Mars. Smiling comes under Venus. The man who is coming under Mars will be rowdy in nature, will be very, will speak less, which comes under Mars. I will say something about Mars, which I have read from a book, that when the Prime Minister of India, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, was shot dead in that day, it is the last day of October 1984, when Rahu had a 6:8 conflict with Mars on the one hand and Saturn on the other. Saturn rules employees, and at that day she was shot dead by his own security personnel. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the Prime Minister of India, met with his death in the last week of May 1964 due to illness because of conflict of Mars plus Jupiter with Moon. Anwar Sadat, President of Egypt, was also killed by gunfire when Mars was involved in a conflict with Saturn and Rahu. Mars is directly involved with gunshots. Mars is much more cruel than Saturn. Mars is the most malefic planet among the 9. Mars is much more cruel than Saturn. Mars is much more tough than Rahu and Ketu. Dealing a man of Mars is a very tough position. Man of Mars is very rigid. Dealing a man of Mars is a very tough job. There is only one planet left now, that is Moon. I will talk about Moon later. But for today, it is enough. Thank you. Keep me watching. And later on, আমি পরে বাংলাতেও বলবো, কিন্তু এখন আমি আপাতত ইংরেজিতেই কন্টিনিউ করব। বাট ল্যাটার অন এখন আমি ইংরেজিতেই বলবো আপনাদেরকে, পরে আমি বাংলাতেও এই জিনিসগুলো বলবো। থ্যাংক ইউ।